The art of drawing, or better expressed, the art of draftsmanship, is a cherished skill for the knowledgeable artist. There is nothing quite so basic, yet so powerful, as a tool for communication as the humble pencil drawing, or to expand on that thought, the charcoal drawing where mass is considered the key factor. To learn to draw well, it may be said that the teaching of draftsmanship culminated in France in the early 19th century. French art was derived largely from the classic art of the Greeks and Romans, and the academic training in drawing and painting of the French schools of that period never has been, and probably never will be, excelled. It reached a profound zenith. Jean-Léon Gérôme was one who, from the beginning of his artistic life, made an effort to draw exceedingly well his mission. The repeated exercise of drawing and redrawing as one ponders an idea becomes a wonderful exercise in itself, while roughing out, into shape, the plans for a picture. In this presentation, we will look at the preliminary artwork that precedes the final product. All stems from the mind to actuality, onto the blank paper. It was so much a part of Gérome's practice that he often signed the preliminary works on paper as a final product while moving forward. Jean-Léon Gérôme was born in 1824 at Vesoul, France. It's been stated that his paintings were so widely reproduced that he was arguably the world's most famous living artist by 1880. Along with his pupil and friend Charles Bargue, they developed the fully illustrated work, Cours de Dessin, often termed one of the most influential classical drawing courses ever produced, and was conceived as a collaborative effort, and published between 1866 and 1876 by Goupil and C. Company of France. It comprised some 197 lithographs printed as individual sheets. The course proved vital to guide students from plaster casts to drawing from the living model, which ultimately went on to the study of the masters and copying. The Charles Bargue drawing course, as it is most widely known today, remains a treasured instructional program. Useful in itself, this training was highly scientific and systematic, providing an extremely valuable education in developing the mental faculties. Above all, it is intellectual in nature. Its value in cultivating an appreciation of art itself is inestimable. For an artist wishing to practice any of the graphic arts, learning to draw well is essential. It is the foundation of them all. To correct a common misconception, many novices believe that drawing or painting is merely a trick of the hand, a kind of manual magic or dexterity. This is true only to a slight and relatively unimportant degree. Drawing is, in essence, a cultivation and sharpening of vision, our ability to truly see. Once a student genuinely perceives the object they wish to represent and forms a clear conception of it in their mind, they find it relatively easy to transfer that vision to paper or canvas. Gerome expressed his view that the 19th century is and will remain one of the great epochs of the world. It has made a giant stride in advance, and for a period of 50 years the achievements, easy to be enumerated, have been stupendous. For it is in our day, to cite only the principal discoveries, that photography, chloroform, electricity, the telephone, etc., have been utilized and found a connecting link between nations. We behold only the debut of these things, but the way is open, it is fertile, and we ask ourselves where human genius will pause and what our sons will see. Therefore, it is austere and profound studies that make great painters and great sculptors. One lives all one's life on this foundation, and if it is lacking, one will only be mediocre. Just as a good breeder feeds his colts with oats to make them strong, sturdy horses in the future, so young artists should be nourished with the marrow of lions and led to the purest springs to quench their thirst. Gerome's artistic productions naturally group themselves into several distinct classes, which draw their inspiration from the antique, the Orient, modern history, and the realm of fantasy, the latter finding its themes in the wide region that exists between ancient mythology and our excessive development. Gerome was above all else a craftsman, an artist who demanded of himself to be the best, to work long hours, and in so doing produce through much investigating a work of art that tells a story not just in the cover, but by way of sound technique. Art understanding has travelled a long way, and the secrets to the technical side of painting and even drawing produce a great deal more attention than just looking at the subject to ponder its meaning. In the work of Gerome, we find his animated figures full of rendered genius, each point of pressure from the pencil and accents at significant points, delineating the flow and rhythm of the line, is a remarkable thing to see. When we remember in his famous picture, The Age of Augustus, that Gerome spent more than 2 years of arduous labour on this canvas and finished it before he was 31 years old, we may comprehend the astonished admiration of the older painters before the profound attainment of a comparative youth. This promised to be a future for Gerome, and the encouragement to maintain his standards very high. There exist in nature many things which separately are beautiful, but genius consists in finding the point of contact by which they can be attached to each other, and a masterpiece thus be produced. There is not a shrub or a tree to which one cannot add value by means of a rock, a pool of water, or a horizon skilfully arranged. It is the same regarding the human form amid all animated beings. When Gerome recommends the study of nature, it is not of inanimate nature that he speaks. It is not of landscape, on which he widens but little. Nature for him is man. Man, according to him, includes everything, and the knowledge of man that enriches the soul and satisfies the painterly passions. Augustus St. Gaudens writes of Gerome, "There is in his art, apart from its elevation and virility of style, that which ranks him in my mind with the Greek artists, so much so that I feel he would have taken his place in the everyday life of Athens, and I involuntarily imagine him in all the joyous contrasts of the blue skies and superb architecture, sharing the brilliancy and nervousness of Athenian life when the Parthenon was built." It seems to me that this feeling represents the unexpressed thought of many of his admirers. We find the same ideas expressed in a masterly essay by Charles Blanc, who writes as follows: "After having admired the universe, man comes to contemplate himself. He recognizes that the human form is the one that corresponds to the mind, that regulated by proportion and symmetry, free by movement, superior through beauty, the human form, of all living forms, is the only one capable of fully expressing thought." Gerome, as we have said, apprehended this truth at the very beginning of his career. On his return to the atelier, with perceptions broadened and sharpened by a year of indefatigable study at Rome, where he had sketched indiscriminately landscape, architecture, animals, and figures, he felt more keenly than ever his pressing need for practice in drawing and painting from the nude. He set himself to make a life-size study, and the result was the Combat de Cogs, a picture of great technique and wonderful arabesque. To him it was only a study and, in his own critical estimation, an unsatisfactory one, but the trained eye of established artist Paul Delaroche instantly perceived its amazing qualities of virility, originality, and elegance of style, by which an everyday incident in that epoch of Greek life was elevated into the domain of true classic art. At his express command, and despite the protest of the young neophyte, the canvas was sent to the Salon of 1847, was accepted and received wide acclaim. However, the choice of the cockfight as a subject was not without negative press at the time. While some thought such works tasteless, others championed the right to free thought with art. An American author defended his work, stating, "The artistic qualities of Gerome have been the subject of much discussion. His rare endowments are a study of great interest. He is an Orientalist of so in time a treatment that alone would suffice to render him eminent. He executed great historic works that singly might make his fame universal. He is so learned a painter of the antique that a close study of this department of his work produces a sense of amazed wonder in view of the underlying knowledge necessary to afford his significant touch of motifs, by which he introduces us into family circles and enables us to chat of everyday affairs with the heroes of one or another period. Gerome, in his restrained use of facts in a picture, to where all there is to say is peculiarly Gerome's. This is true of his works of the slave market, for example, as with others of this artist's works that are severely criticized by sensitive judges as of a harsh coldness, become in their full estimation of a nature to produce deep feelings, a thrilling sensation of anger or pity for the wrong depicted. This influence is inherent in the wide gamut across which the antitheses represented in them of the absence of all feeling, so that the effect given is with no strain of fact, but simply the revelations of an instance which moves us. Scenes from Oriental life form the most considerable portion of Gerome's works. The numerous voyages of the artist furnished him with an inexhaustible quantity of picturesque themes, which find their fountainhead in his great powers of observation. But the paintings devoted to the restoration of the antique, with the discoveries of Pompeii, are those which, taken all in all, are dearest to the master. It is through them he has confided the survival of his name. His expectations were not deceived on this point, since from the beginning this truth he is assured, that which gives Gerome his superiority over most of his rivals and establishes his very distinct personality is his incontestable knowledge as a man and an artist. A visitor to his studio said of Gerome that the slightest of Gerome's sketches are drawn with a touch so firm, so pure, so precise, and so finished in their carelessness that one wonders what can be added by further labour. The artist-traveller has made numerous pencil portrait studies of different characteristic types of peoples, of every race and variety. We should never finish were we to describe the infinite number of details gathered together on these loose sheets. Great undulations depicted of ground, clusters of date trees, masses of tall palms, valleys whose span raises and opens to the sun, smokers' cafes, urchins run about camping grounds, corners of pyramids, the broken profile of the Sphinx, vases drawn of bold contours, doors of mosques, everything that the chance of travel offers that is new and interesting to an eye that knows how to see, a hand that knows how to reproduce, Gerome has discovered, penetrated, and given us his thoughtful results in flawless execution. In this presentation, we wanted to give due diligence to a remarkable talent, one who not only accomplished so much in the picture-making process, but he was also an accomplished sculptor in his latter years, that is superb, not to mention the countless artists who entered his atelier for that vital training so needed by young artists starting out. His legacy is sure, and his workmanship awe-inspiring, whatever the subject may be. So with that, we trust you enjoyed this look at Gerome's great skills and productions. We also wish to thank our subscribers, and remember to leave a like. Also, for those who would like to help the channel, there is a PayPal below for any amount. Finally, we look forward to bringing you many more artists in the future. So until then, it's bye for now.